What's going on, people? Right now, we're going live. I'm doing good, feeling good today. Got some stuff to talk about. First and foremost, we got the fact that Gervonta Davis leaves Mayweather Promotions, and a little bit of I want to say surprise because of the fact that he's been talking about this for a little while now, but only surprising because they said that the Ryan Garcia fight was coming up next. So when you have that fight coming up next, and then after he's going to be, first he's going to fight on January 7th versus Hector Garcia. Then if he wins, then they got the Ryan Garcia fight. That's what they say. So a little bit surprising. Gervonta said that he's going his own direction. He's going to do his own thing. And that makes it a little interesting, just because once again, Mayweather Promotions loses another guy, and their talent has kind of left them over the years, not just with Gervonta, but with people like Badu Jack, Jillian Love, Angelo Leo. I mean, he hasn't fought in like 2 years. So they really don't have a lot of talent, and it makes you wonder, can they really promote top talent? But I'm going to give Mayweather Promotions credit. They really did make Gervonta Davis into what I would call a boxing star. He's not a national star the way Canelo is, the way Floyd Mayweather himself is, but he is a big star within boxing. I would say people like Gervonta Davis, Errol Spence, Deontay Wilder, they're big stars in boxing in that they can do pay-per-view fights consistently in headline events, do big numbers in arenas. But my neighbor doesn't know who Gervonta Davis is. The casual sports fan does not know who Gervonta Davis is. They know who Canelo is. They know who Jake Paul is, but they don't know who Gervonta Davis is. And even just from doing this channel, I see that he gets a lot of attention when I make a video about Gervonta Davis, but he doesn't get the numbers that Jake Paul and Canelo and Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather gets. So, I think the Ryan Garcia fight will be a fight that will be able to help him over the years, but I think that he's got to win this fight and he's got to keep building himself up. But I got to give Floyd Mayweather his credit for Gervonta Davis, because if it wasn't for the Mayweather cosign and the hype machine around Gervonta, there's no way he could have gotten this big without fighting better opposition. So, it's interesting to see what's next and what they do, Mayweather Promotions. Who's the face of Mayweather Promotions now? Rolly Romero? I really don't know. So that's interesting with all that. But Gervonta Davis is gone from Mayweather Promotions. I want to talk about Teofimo Lopez versus Sandor Martin this week. It's a good fight. New York, baby. I think that Sandor Martin is interesting because he beat Mikey Garcia, but to me, that was more about Mikey Garcia not being interested in boxing anymore and not showing up. But credit to Sandor Martin. He got the win. He won easily. But now he fights Teofimo Lopez, a young, hungry guy who came off of a defeat 2 fights ago versus George Kambosos about a year ago, very unexpectedly. And I like how Teo always fights on that Heisman night. That's like a staple of his. He fought on the Terrence Crawford, Edwin Kavaliauskas undercard when he beat Richard Comey for the title. And he did it last year with Kambosos. That's a date that he really likes. And he always wears the Heisman winner. He wore the Joe Burrow jersey, I remember. And he likes doing that. So it's interesting. I think Teofimo Lopez should win this fight easily. I think Teofimo Lopez is still world class. I still think he's elite. And I think he's going to show people that think that he's food because he lost one time that, no, I'm still the big dog. And he's going to knock out Sandor Martin in this fight. I'm going with a 8th round KO. I think that he takes care of business and he stops Sandor Martin. I like what he does, in this fight. And I think at 140, we're going to see him be more explosive. I know his last fight, he, didn't really showcase that, but that was his first fight at 140. So I think that Teofimo Lopez is the guy. And if Teofimo Lopez wins, I would like to see a fight with him and Josh Taylor. I know Josh Taylor's not undisputed anymore because of the fact that he, had to vacate some stuff. But Josh Taylor, Catterall rematch. And let me see the winners of these 2 fights. Catterall, Taylor winner, Teofimo Lopez, Sandor Martin winner. And from what I understand, they're all at top rank except for Sandor Martin. So why not make it happen? Teofimo Lopez, Sandor Martin, make the fight happen. The winner of those fights fight undisputed or not undisputed fight Josh Taylor. And I think a lot of people think if you lose one time that you're done. Teofimo Lopez still has elite power, elite speed, and you can tell you what you want about his defense and his footwork. And he was outboxing Loma for most of the fight. So to me, Teofimo Lopez is still an elite talent. And I think that he's still a problem for Devin Haney if Devin Haney comes up to 140. That's everyone's saying, oh, Devin Haney would beat him easily. I don't agree with that. So I definitely think that this is an interesting fight, but a fight that I expect Teofimo Lopez to win easily. I want to know what you guys think about that one. Let me see what else we got here. Yeah, I want to talk about Tyson Fury, actually. Tyson Fury, he fought Derek Chisora a couple weeks ago, whatever it was, last week it was. Won every round, basically. Maybe he lost one, but he basically took care of business easily. It wasn't a competitive fight. Tyson Fury is a great heavyweight. I think he has the potential to be an all-time great heavyweight. As of right now, Tyson Fury is not in my top 10 heavyweights of all time list. Now, I'm not a boxing historian. I don't know all the history. I'm not like one of these, Bert Sugar types where I know all the, champs from every year, but I know a lot. And even to me, he's not in the top 10 all time. Just if you want to talk Jack Johnson, Jack Dempsey, Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano, Ali, that's already 5 right there. Liston, I would say over him still. Frazier, Foreman, Larry Holmes, Holyfield, Tyson, Mike Tyson, Lennox Lewis, Vladimir Klitschko. How is this guy top 10 all time? Let's look back at Fury's career. He beat a 39-year-old Klitschko. Great win. He ended his run, but he was 39 years old. Did not give him the rematch that Klitschko was supposed to have because Klitschko was the, champion for so long. He was supposed to get that rematch. And to me, considering Fury's physical health at the time and mental condition, Klitschko would have won that rematch easily. Then when he comes back 3 years later, goes on the road, gets knocked down twice by Wilder. I thought he really won that fight. So we could even count that as an unofficial win. Okay, knocks out Wilder, great win. Beats Wilder again in the third fight, great win. We're now at 4 fights now in championship fights, really 3, and Dylan White and Chisora. So he's got 5 championship wins in his career. To put this into context, Joe Louis is 26, Muhammad Ali is 25 or 22, Larry Holmes is 20, Klitschko is 18, Lennox Lewis is 15, Mike Tyson is 13. Like, you get the point. He is 5, and the 5 were against old Klitschko, Wilder, Dylan White, who was top 5 at the time. I'll give him that. That was legit. And way past the Chisora. So I don't know. And who's the great heavyweight he beat? Klitschko, okay. Well, he was 39 years old. Wilder, it's interesting with Wilder where Wilder's only great when you're defending Fury's resume. But then when people talk about Wilder, they say, oh, he's not that good. He's just a puncher, blah, 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 blah. Then when it comes to defending Fury's resume, oh, he's his great all-time great heavyweight. You can't have it both ways. And Tyson Fury himself tries to have it both ways. He says Deontay Wilder is a basketball player. He can't box. He's a bum, all these things. But then when it comes to defending his resume, he's the hardest puncher ever. He would beat all the other heavyweights. You can't have it both ways. It's got to be either Wilder's elite or he's not. So when I look at Tyson Fury, I don't think he's a top 10 heavyweight of all time from an accomplishment standpoint. He doesn't have the longevity and he doesn't have those top end wins yet. But if he went on to beat Usyk for the undisputed title, I think then I would have to say he's top 10 of all time because to me, he did what a lot of those other guys did. He did what Marciano did because he would be undisputed and Marciano retired, but he'd be undisputed too. He did what Dempsey did. He did what Tunney, same thing. He did what Liston did, kinda. He was the undisputed guy. Then he only had one title defense. He fought Muhammad Ali. Joe Frazier had the title, short run, etc. Mike Tyson, even you could throw in there, and he beat better opposition than a lot of those guys. You take a guy like Rocky Marciano. He beat old Joe Louis. He beat old Vlad Klitschko. But when Fury beat old Vladimir Klitschko was the champion. Marciano beat old Joe Louis. Joe Louis was coming back because he needed the money. So I don't look at that as the equivalent. He beat Joe Walcott. He beat Ezra Charles. Those are really good wins. But to me, Usyk and Wilder are probably the equivalent of that, if not even better. I mean, Usyk, undefeated world champion. I mean, Joe Walcott, he was a light heavyweight champion, and same with Ezra Charles. And Wilder's the most ferocious puncher in history. So to me, if he won that fight, Tyson Fury, he'd be ahead of someone like Rocky Marciano or Jack Dempsey, or people like Joe Frazier and probably Mike Tyson too. So I'd have to think about that kind of stuff. But the point is, if he won that fight versus Usyk, he'd be top 10 ever. If you go and beat Usyk, Joshua, and Joyce, those other three top guys in your era, not including him and Wilder, obviously, can't take it. We're talking maybe borderline top 5 all-time heavyweight. So that's where I'm kind of with that. I think Tyson Fury's great, but I think that his lack of dedication to the sport hurt him, and I think that the fact that he didn't have a longer run, it's a problem. I mean, it shows a lack of mental fortitude. Not trying to take shots at him. I'm just saying, a lot of people, they talk about guys like Vladimir Klitschko not having the greatest opposition, but to win 18 straight fights at a championship level is impressive. And I know Klitschko never beat anyone as good as Fury beating Vladimir Klitschko or Fury beating Deontay Wilder, but he has 12 Dylan Whites on his resume. So to me, that's a better overall career. But Tyson Fury, go beat Usyk, and then we could talk about you being an all-time great. But as of right now, today, can I say he's a top 10 heavyweight of all time? No, I cannot. And that's just, me. Who else we got? The Boxing Hall of Fame. We got the Boxing Hall of Fame today. I found out just now Timothy Bradley, Carl Froch, and Rafael Marquez will be in the Boxing Hall of Fame. Marquez to me was pretty clear. I think Bradley's an interesting one because most people know him for the 3 Manny Pacquiao fights. And I mean, obviously the first fight was a robbery. Pacquiao won, and Pacquiao beat him the other 2 times. But those are the only losses of his career are to Pacquiao. But if you look at the rest of his career, I mean, he had a really, really underrated career for his whole career. He was a great champion at 140. He was the guy in that 2009, 10, 11 era, of that junior welterweight division. He was the man. It wasn't Amir Khan. It wasn't Devin Alexander. It wasn't any of those guys. It was him. He beat Kendall Holt. He beat Devin Alexander. He beat trying to remember who was the name that he beat. Provodnikov. He beat a lot of good men at that weight class, and a lot of people don't give him the proper credit he deserves just because of the Pacquiao fight. Lamont Peterson, another guy. I was talking about Junior Witter. That was the one that I was talking about. Beat Junior Witter. I mean, he had a really, really, really good run at that weight, and Casamaori beat, and even after the Pacquiao fights, beat Provodnikov, and he beat Juan Manuel Marquez after Marquez beat Pacquiao. So I mean, a lot of people, I remember going at that fight because the way it worked was Pacquiao really beat Bradley, but he got robbed. Then Pacquiao fought Marquez. Marquez knocked out Pacquiao. So then when Marquez fought Bradley, people are like, oh, Marquez is for sure going to beat Bradley. But it doesn't work that way because styles make fights. And Timothy Bradley went in there and he beat Juan Manuel Marquez. Very underrated win right there. A lot of people didn't have that going into that fight, but he really beat him easy. I remember that. I remember watching that thinking like, ooh, this is easy. And it's actually funny. I believe in that Timothy Bradley, Juan Manuel Marquez fight. That was the first time Lomachenko fought professionally. I think Vasily Lomachenko was on the undercard in his pro debut. I think I could be wrong on that, but I think it was it was the first time that Lomachenko fought a professional fight in boxing. And so Tim Bradley had a really great career. And I think in boxing, it's not like, in other American sports like the MLB, baseball, or, the NBA and basketball, or in the NFL, with football. The Hall of Fame, I think, is a little bit easier to get into. So Tim Bradley will get in. Congrats to him. And we got Carl Froch, who got in too. I mean, Yeah, him, I think he's super underrated. One of the greatest champions the UK ever had. Beat John Pascal, and John Pascal went on to win the title later on. He beat Durrell, Andre Durrell, the older brother from Anthony Durrell. He beat him. He beat Arthur Abram. He beat Kessler in the rematch, even though he lost the first fight. Uh, you know, Guys like Yusuf Mack, Butte, those guys maybe not as impressive, but he had a lot of good wins. George Groves, he beat, I mean, Jermaine Taylor when Jermaine Taylor had something left, when Jermaine Taylor was still good before he had his personal problems. So Carl Froch, man, he fought a lot of big time names in the game. And I know he got outclassed by Andre Ward, but he had a hell of a career. I think he was on the pound for pound list at one point. And I did my video where I talked about the top 5 UK fighters since 1980, and Froch was on that list. So one of the great fighters from Great Britain, and a very underrated pro, iron chin, good power, mentally very tough, always was in shape. Didn't have the greatest speed in the world, but he had great attention to detail. And what's interesting about Carl Froch is he said he didn't even expect himself to be a pro fighter. He thought he was just going to tap out from the amateur level, and that was going to be it. But not only does he turn pro, win a bunch of world titles at the super middleweight division, I think he won several times, but goes on to have a Hall of Fame career. And that makes an Andre Ward win look even better in retrospect, because you go on to beat another Hall of Famer. Maybe at the time they weren't saying that, but now they are, because Carl Froch is in the Hall. Rafael Marquez, easy, no doubt about it, Hall of Fame. So that wasn't a surprise. But I guess those two, Timothy Bradley and Carl Froch, it's interesting because they are like these blue collar kind of fighters. They were under the radar, and that really is, they represent the everyman, because those guys didn't have like the Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Sugar Ray Leonard, Pernell Whitaker, Mike Tyson. Like, those guys are just freaks. Those guys are just like, whoa. But the blue collar guys like the Carl Froch, Timothy Bradley, the guys that got to edge it out all the time, a lot of fans can appreciate those guys too, because I don't think they even thought they were going to be Hall of Fame fighters. And definitely the people that, when they started their careers and they were contending and going for world titles, they weren't looked at as like future Hall of Famers. So it just shows you never really know. Some guys, they have a lot of hype and they don't pan out, like Zab Judah. He had a good career, but people thought he'd for sure be Hall of Famer. And Jermaine Taylor, another guy who thought he'd have a great career, had a good career. Then you got a guy like Carl Froch or a guy like Timothy Bradley, and they go on to be Hall of Famers as like kind of like under the radar guys. And then they just kind of outwork everybody. And in the professional level, they win big fights, and that puts them in there. So congratulations to Rafael Marquez, Timothy Bradley, and Carl Froch on the Hall of Fame. Oh, here we go. Some comments. Tank really left. Yeah, Tank left. He left Mayweather Promotions. That's what he said. He said in an interview that he's gone, and they were talking about it. So, yeah, Floyd missed out on the Tank Garcia fight. I mean, yeah, if that fight happens, that is true. He did. But you got to give Mayweather all the credit in the world. He built him up, but that is true. He's missing out on the fight between Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia. So, listen, whatever you want to say, I know Mayweather Promotions, they aren't doing so well, but he made Gervonta a star. You can't take that away from them. Nobody would care about Gervonta Davis if it wasn't for the Floyd Mayweather cosign, especially if he was fighting the level of opposition that he was fighting. What is Tank talking about? Eddie knowing cheating. What Gervonta's talking about is Conor Benn. Conor Benn, he was Eddie Hearn's fighter, and Conor Benn, he failed like 5 drug tests when he was supposed to fight Chris Eubank Jr. And he knows what he's talking about, because I think Gervonta accused Ryan Garcia of some kind of cheating, and then he said Eddie Hearn knows about cheating because Eddie Hearn clapped back at Gervonta. So he's right. Conor Benn was cheating. I mean, I don't know how like Eddie Hearn's blamed for a fighter cheating. It's like he's not the trainer, he's the promoter. So I mean, that whole argument is kind of a little silly, but yeah, he's right that Eddie Hearn does know a thing or two about cheating. His fighters know a thing or two about cheating, and Dillian White's failed a couple tests too. I mean, let's not forget about that one either. But he's referring to Conor Benn. I think that's what he's referring to. Conor Benn, I mean, he's interesting. Is he this elite fighter? I don't think so. Is he a UK hype job? Probably a little bit. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the way I look at Conor Ben is he's a good fighter. He's a contender, but I don't look at him the way I look at Jaron Ennis or Virgil Ortiz. Those kind of guys, like he's not at that level. So, and this drug testing failure, it sets him back. So, yeah. But what he's referring to is that he's referring to Gervonta Davis is referring to the fight with the Conor Ben situation. So that's what he's talking about. But yeah, I mean, I think that kind of captures everything about the that's coming up in boxing. Teofimo Lopez, Sandor Martin, Terrence Crawford, David Evanesian, Michael Collins fighting this week, Josh Warrington. Those aren't really big fights in my opinion. But the fight that interests me the most is Lopez Martin, because I want to see what Teofimo Lopez has left in, not that he's like shot and what does he have left. I want to see how he handles a bigger test than 140. I still think Teofimo Lopez is elite. I think he's still that guy. And I think that, when it comes to that 140-pound division, to me, it's him and Taylor. But Regis Progress, he had a good win a couple weeks ago. So I think he's another guy that could be in the mix. But I don't think he has such a big fan base. So I don't know if that fight's going to happen. But maybe a Regis Progress, Josh Taylor too. Who knows? If Taylor beats Catterall, if that fight ever happens. But it won't be for undisputed. But who really cares? I mean, I think, it would be clear whoever won that fight would be the winner and be the clear guy at 140. And when Devin Haney moves up, he'll also be in the mix. So it should be interesting. I got Teofimo Lopez winning this week. But, yeah, that's everything for this show. Peace out.